So I think we'll start with you introducing yourself. So if you take like 1 to 2 minutes, tell people who you are and get them familiar with you before we get started.
All right. Thank you so much. This is the best organized event that I've been to in so long. So thank you, Fox and Scout Guide and 8Z and everybody for having us. My name is Jill Grano. I am a residential real estate broker with Mile High Modern, but beyond that, I'm probably the biggest Boulder housing nerd you could ever meet. I went back to graduate school recently to study housing in Boulder through urban geography lens, and have a big thesis on that, and served on our city council for a bit, and as the director of community affairs for Congressman Joe Neguse. And because of that kind of real estate and policy and academic experience in housing, the governor hired me on to be the statewide director of housing for Sundance Film Festival Relocation. So really honored and excited to be working with such a great team.
And I'm Hannah Button, and I work for Visit Boulder. I'm the destination marketing manager, but I have taken this on as a special project, and our team often jokes about the fact that I've kind of gotten a PhD in short-term rentals just because of Sundance coming to Boulder and trying to learn more about that market. And we've worked really closely with the city of Boulder and now property managers in the local area to really just build a good program around lodging in Boulder for the Sundance Film Festival. So.
Thank you. I'm Tanya Pringle. I am a senior project manager at the City of Boulder in our Planning and Development Services Center. I am taking the lead in our work on the city side to expand our options in our rental licensing program, trying to open up opportunities for more properties to offer their homes for lodging as we move into the Sundance Film Festival. And so that's my lead work right now, but I have been involved with our licensing program through the years. So I'm pretty familiar with our existing program and then working on changes to expand those opportunities for residents.
Awesome. My name's Ross. Wow, I'm louder than you guys.
Right?
I'm going to stand back here. My name's Ross Bowdey. I started the short-term, mid-term rental division at Fox Property Management 6.5 years ago. And what's fun about this for me is my wife and I, 15 years ago, were like, this Airbnb thing, should we rent out our home and go on vacation? And really explored the space, how a lot of people right now that I'm talking to are like, oh, should I rent out my house? And so I feel like a lot of my origin story of how I find myself here is where a lot of you find yourself right now is, what does this mean? And how do I do this? And is there a right way, a wrong way? And how do we do it? And so it's been a lot of fun to come alongside a lot of people in the beginning stages of figuring this out. And then all these lovely people around me also bouncing ideas off each other, because what Sundance Film Festival coming to our city means is amazing things for way more than just the housing. And so excited to be one of the pieces of this story today and into the future.
Yay. I'm Kate George, and I started Home Host Concierge over a decade ago, and we exclusively do vacation rentals and short-term rentals in Boulder, and so we help the homeowners rent their properties as well as the guests for all of their needs too. So we combine both the homeowner side and the guest side to make sure it's a seamless experience all around, and we're thrilled to host Sundance in Boulder. So the time is right.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you. Okay, so we're going to just start with questions. And Jill, I'm going to start with you. I have to put my glasses on. So from your vantage point, what does the Sundance Film Festival coming to Boulder represent for Colorado and our local community?
Oh man, the 2027 Sundance Film Festival coming to Colorado is so exciting for all of us. You know, we have an opportunity to kind of do this the Boulder way. I don't think that we need to recreate what's already happened. I think that there's an opportunity to take this festival on and really elevate it and have all of us benefit, but also create an amazing kind of next generation for the festival. And on the lodging front, the thing that I really want to emphasize is it's easy to kind of think about, what does this mean for me? How much can I make? How can I monetize Sundance Film Festival? But really start to think about, how can we all work together to make this the best possible festival? It's a 10-year contract. Let's make sure that we crush it so that that contract extends into the future. And really what that means then is opening up as much housing stock as we can, and being moderate with our prices, really, right? And thinking about how we can make the experience for the people living in our houses and renting them, as positive as possible. And to come together as a community in that way and recognize the broader community opportunity here.
That's great. Hannah. Okay, I'm just going to keep the glasses on my nose. What do we need to know about demand patterns for the Sundance Film Festival? And when does housing typically begin securing? And feel free to take, 3-5 minutes to answer.
As far as demand patterns go, what we've heard is that it starts right after they announce the dates, what they just did last week, and it continues all the way up until a few days before the festival even. We did hear that, at least from 2024 numbers, there was about a 72-day booking window that was very popular, and I got to think that that's probably shortly after they announced the films, or around that time that they announced the actual films that will be showing in the festival. So there's a bit of a jump during that time, but really it happens all year long. And some other patterns that we've heard is kind of towards the beginning, it might be some more of those corporate sponsors that are looking for homes, especially because they're looking for, a large number of their staff that are going to be coming out during that time. We know that from that corporate sponsor group, there's about 200 companies that will come out as corporate sponsors, and about 15 to 20 of those will bring 100 staff members for that one company. So they're looking for homes because a lot of those staff members like to stay in homes together. They like that experience that kind of pairs well with the Sundance Film Festival experience too. People are going to see these, heart-wrenching films, and they want to come back to their homes and collaborate with each other and talk with each other about what they experienced during the festival. So that's one group of people. There's obviously the filmmaker artist group of people that will be coming out, and they're similar in the sense that they like to share a home together, share the experience together, because obviously they were part of making a film that was there at the Sundance Film Festival. So that's another group of people that will be looking for homes. And then of course, just the general attendees. A lot of these numbers, as far as when will they be booking, we don't know that for Boulder yet. It's something that is we'll have more information over the coming years, but for this first year, I think it's something that we'll just have to see, as we go. But we do want to be prepared, and we want to try to open up inventory so that we have those homes available for people who are looking at any point during that booking window. So we've been saying from Visit Boulder's standpoint, like, if you're ready, if your home is ready and you're excited about this, get your home listed now. Go through the process early, take these steps early, and list it early so that, number one, you get it booked early, you get it taken care of, and number two, there's just this inventory available for all the people that are looking at these different times throughout the year. So, yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Answer one quick
Yeah.
question. I did hear earlier today, I'm sure everybody is wondering, when are the films released? And I just heard today, I think it's sometime mid to end of October. And then that booking window, that's where that kind of second jump is.
That sounds
after
right.
the
I did
films
not
are
look back
released.
at when they're officially released, but that sounds
Yeah,
like the right timing.
yeah.
It's around October, I
I just
think. So.
figured a lot of people were wondering.
Oh, yeah, I was. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And I do think that is one of the things to think about, is that there is a rolling need over time. So those people who are ready now are going to get that activity, and we're going to continue to need housing all the way through the year. So don't be discouraged if you're not ready to list your house today, if you're ready in a few months.
Totally, yeah. There will be more times where people will be looking. It's all year long, but I just think it's better if it's out there early, so people can pick what is the right fit for them. So
Yeah.
That's great. So Tanya, what licensing requirements should homeowners understand now?
Okay, so that's a good question. Right now, we have a new festival license that was put into play in December. And that allows short-term rentals just during special festival events, like Sundance Film Festival, where in the past, if you had considered renting as a short-term rental and maybe it wasn't your primary residence, you may not have qualified. Under this new festival license, you can. So that is available to apply for now. And if that's something that you've considered in the past, it's definitely, we've got people applying, applications are coming in daily to be able to start listing their homes. If you have an existing short-term rental, which you could have had over the past several years, you don't need the festival license. That short-term rental pretty much covers you for the same time frame, because it's, short-term is gonna be less than 29 days that you're renting for. And that would cover the festival event, but also if you already are a short-term rental licensee, then that license will cover you as well.
Oh, that's interesting. So people will not need both license.
You don't need both. No.
Okay.
The festival license specifically opened up some opportunities for owners that have a second home that wasn't their primary residence in Boulder and maybe didn't qualify to short-term rent it before. And so that's no longer a restriction, and you can go ahead and start applying for those.
Great. Ross, what kind of homeowner is a strong fit for Sundance Film Festival housing, and who may not be?
Yeah, so I've gone to a lot of people's homes. I've been welcomed in over the last few months, looking at, hey, what can we show you that you may need to do? And for me, it actually boils down to mindset, not actual asset. And so what we're looking for are homeowners that understand I can't spend $0 and provide a multiple $1,000 experience. And so people who are willing to look at kind of the idea of I'm investing for 2 weeks of the year to also make money, but I get to enjoy that upgrade, that improvement for 50 weeks of the year when I'm living there. And so we're getting a lot of good conversations with people to say, hey, if you're paying, I'm just throwing a number out there, don't get crazy, but if I'm paying $1,000 a night to stay here, what would really annoy me that I paid $1,000 a night and there's, you know, scuffs all over the wall, the toilet doesn't open, like all the things that you maybe tolerate in your own home because you're like, I never use that bathroom anyway, it's fine. And where it's been tough is when people are kind of doing what Jill said, which is, how do I win? And that's kind of where the conversation starts and stops. And unless we can help them feel that they're winning enough, it sort of ends the conversation. And so I would say overall, the homes are not that far from being able to turn into a good experience at all different price points. But it's that mental side of going, I actually care about the person's experience while making some money. And so hospitality is really a thing we keep telling our people is you have to think about being a host. Now, people like Kate and I can help with that, but even if you're self-managing, treating this as if you're the Ritz-Carlton for the week and how you're going to treat those people coming into your homes. Because truthfully, some of the price points will be similar to if you booked a Ritz-Carlton. So that's a really important thing for people to think of as they're deciding, does this make sense for me?
Great. Kate, what does festival ready mean to you? So what's that mean from a guest experience standpoint?
Yeah, to build off what Ross shared, we always take a guest-centric approach, and that's how we're able to maximize the income for our members, is because we can't have one without the other. And so we always kind of joke that our guests can never go into a property that's like staying at Aunt Sally's house. You know, that's just not going to work. It does have to be that luxury hotel experience. With that said, we want to make it as simple as possible for the homeowners, because if we're only talking about, the festival is only 10 days, and we do rentals 365 days a year for all of our properties. So the festival is an interesting opportunity to take a one-time approach for rentals. So if that means a homeowner potentially locking off their primary bedroom closet, and then we can bring in a garment rack or something else for the guests to have that same hotel-like experience, that it doesn't mean the homeowner needs to clear everything out of their house. We want to make sure it's as simple as possible for the homeowner, but still providing that amazing guest experience, because we can't, like Ross was saying, have the guests come into a property that's not properly prepared. So festival ready is the same approach that we would take with any other rental, any other day, whether it's somebody coming to town for the film festival, for CU graduation, a wedding, or any of the many reasons that people come into Boulder. We're so happy to host them and welcome them, but the experience has to be positive on the guest side.
So Jill, back to you. What are common misconceptions about housing demand for the Sundance Film Festival?
All right, Jen. Well, when we met, you said that I could talk about whatever I wanted to if I didn't want to answer the question.
You don't have to answer my question. You just say whatever you want to talk
It's not a bad question, but I want to talk about 3 things that are really exciting that I think everybody should know about, that are in the works right now. Because as I mentioned before, think of me at this table as the Sundance for All person. And so we are working on dramatically expanding housing opportunities for the festival. So as Tanya outlined, right now you've got our existing short-term rental law, which says that an owner-occupant can, have a license, rent your home up to 182 days a year. We have the new festival license that applies to second homeowners. But the people that are kind of blocked out at the moment are if you have a long-term license already on your home. So if you've got an ADU in your, on your property, you most likely have a long-term license. Right now, you can't get an STR for it. If you're, as Ross is, working in corporate rentals, most likely those have long-term licenses. Or if you're just a landlord. And so tonight, before council, is an ordinance to change that so that you can carry a long-term license and a short-term license at the same time. 54% of Boulder is rental housing. That's going to open up the majority of our city. If you're a landlord, now you can talk to your tenant about, hey, do you want to sublet your place, my place, your place for Sundance, and let's work out a split. If you're a tenant, you can go to your landlord. I've been a tenant for years in Boulder, even though I'm a realtor, can't afford this place. And my landlady is amazing. She'd be thrilled to work out a split with me to get to rent out the place. So we're very confident that that's going to pass. That's going to pass. This is first reading, and it'll go before council for the final reading in early April. And what I'm so excited about is that we're going to start working with big multifamily properties. Think about the whole 30th corridor, the Rev and 29 North and Spark and Boulder Junction, right? Beautiful high amenity places on transit. We're working in conjunction with Airbnb, who already does a program like this, where we're going to allow tenants in those spaces for the building owners that opt in to sublet their places for Sundance, and just thrilled about that. So that's number one. Number two is that if any of you live in HOAs, most likely 97% of HOAs in town do not allow short-term rentals. And it's not easy to change. Usually the rule against short-term rentals is embedded deep in the governing documents, and it takes a vote of 67% of the owners plus major attorney's fees to change that. And it's just been prohibitive for too many HOAs. The Peloton is our best example. There's a bunch though. Almost all of them. And so I was telling Jen, I'm so excited. I got permission from the governor's office to kind of announce that we are pushing forward with a legislative bill that would allow HOAs, certainly not mandate them to have short-term rentals, but allow them to do just a simple board majority vote in the case of special events or emergency circumstances. So, this was an issue not just when Sunday, for housing for festivals and stuff, but like when the Marshall Fire happened. There were thousands of people displaced, people in HOAs all over who wanted to house them, and they couldn't. So this bill we expect to pass in the next 2 months. It'll go into effect July 1st. Again, there's some stuff to still be worked out. There's a little bit more chance it won't go as the city bill, but I have the permission to talk about it, so I'm happy about that. So if you're in an HOA, be looking out for that, because it's going to really help unlock a bunch of HOAs. So, when you think about Boulder housing, over half of our housing stock is multifamily and 54% is rental. And those kind of come together like a Venn diagram. So at the moment, only a tiny little sliver moon of our city is even eligible to short-term rent, right? And when we have these two, the ordinance and the state bill, the whole city, it opens it all up. And again, Sundance for all. So the third thing that I'm really excited about is a home hosting program that we're working on. This is not going to be a public program in year one, more kind of like, broadly advertised, people in this room. If you are interested in opening up your house, no money will be exchanged. But as was mentioned, the filmmakers don't find out that they've been chosen until, end of October, and lodging is already booked up, and these are young filmmakers with not a lot of money usually. And so we are going to pair people who are willing to hold their homes, off of Airbnb and open them up to with filmmakers who need housing. And I'm so excited about this because, some of the best filmmakers in the world have come out of Sundance. And this is an opportunity to build relationships with young up-and-coming filmmakers. And these are relationships that could last a lifetime, year after year. If they are invited back, they'll come stay with you. So, if that sounds like you, see me after, and we're going to be launching that program pretty soon and starting to kind of collect homes to hold for filmmakers later. So, there you go. There's
I am
the
just
non-answer
so
to
glad
your
that you went
question.
rogue, because that was such great information. I appreciate that. All panelists have permission to do that, because what we're really trying to get today is information.
Yeah.
And, we come up with questions to generate ideas, but if you come up with something that you think is really important to share, please do. So Hannah.
Jill,
Yeah.
I just have a question.
Great.
So to your point number one, when would council be open to having that transition happen?
Yeah, and Tanya can speak to this because she's the one who wrote the ordinance, but we worked closely together. And it's tonight's first reading. The second reading will be early April. We expect it'll pass on second reading, and then it would become available, effective immediately. And that license will be less expensive. I think that we're looking at $75. The tenant would be the one to take out the license. We need landlord buy-in. Tenants can't just go rogue and take out licenses, so don't worry about that. But they do take out the license and pay the local taxes and all that kind of stuff. But great opportunity for tenants, and then especially, like I said, I'm excited about the multifamily. Yeah.
Tanya, do you want to jump in and add anything here?
Jill, told everything. That was so great.
Cat's out back.
Yeah, no, the ordinance we're working on will open it up for tenants. And that's something that we've never done before. So this will be new and exciting and open up a lot of the housing in the city. As Jill mentioned, it does need owner buy-in. So there has to be an approval on file from the owner in order for the tenant to get the license. And then if it passes, April 2nd is scheduled for second reading. It's typically 30 days. So we're looking at early May that we could have that license ready for people to apply for. But right now, all indications are looking good, so we're expecting it to pass. And then in April, I think at that session, there will be opportunity for comments as well. So yeah,
Great.
it's exciting.
Great. Anybody else on the panel want to chime in on that particular topic?
I think it would open up a lot of inventory. We're getting many calls from people who don't qualify for the license, and because it's mutually exclusive to have a long-term rental license or a short-term or a festival license, you can't have both. And it's been hard conversations that we have to let homeowners know that they don't qualify up front. So if there is that opportunity, that
Yes.
will again also with the HOA, because that's other hard conversations that we're having that there's nothing we can do.
It's huge. So please, as you're thinking about this and talking to people, tell them don't revoke their long-term license. I've had a bunch of agents in my office, I'm about to just revoke this and get the STR. Don't do it. Hang on to it.
And I think that's a good piece to notate as well, is that it's not a change to our traditional short-term licenses. This is just for festival events. So it would only apply for special events such as the Sundance Film Festival. It wouldn't apply to year-round CU events, things like that. But it'll be a great opportunity.
Are there other dates other than Sundance that the festival license might be applicable for?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's written to be flexible, but right now Sundance Film Fest is the only one that we have.
Great.
Yeah. It's very specific how a festival event is identified, so it would have to be a city-approved event.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great information. Hannah, and other people may want to chime in on this one too, but how should homeowners think about pricing responsibly without underpricing or overpricing? Like, what are you thinking? What sort of advice would you like to give?
I was hoping Jill would take that one. No.
Pass it. We'll let Jill, you can just pass it back to her after.
Yeah,
get
I
your
think
turn.
I probably have, we have the unpopular opinion on this because obviously, as Jill mentioned early on in this panel, it's such a big opportunity for Boulder, and we know that all of us want to optimize that opportunity. And at the same time, it's something that we're building as a community, and we want to build it right. And so I think as anyone who's a homeowner and is considering doing this and renting their home out as a short-term rental, really think about that aspect and what it means to build it here in Boulder. And of course, we're going to share the love to surrounding communities, but we don't want people to end up booking their lodging in Denver because everything here in Boulder was too expensive. And then there's too much traffic coming from Denver to Boulder during the event. And there's, our businesses here in Boulder aren't reaping those benefits either because people are going out to eat close to where they're staying. And there's so many aspects of why it's important to be considerate and thoughtful about the way that you price your home. Obviously, you have to price it in a way that makes sense for you to go through this process that they've talked about. Obviously, there's upfront fees and costs, and you have to put time and effort into making your home into a short-term rental, and that is all understandable. At the same time, going way above and beyond that price that initially makes sense, I think just is going to push people outside of this community and isn't going to keep these attendees here where we want them to help our economic vitality by keeping them close. So that's what I would say. I know it probably is unpopular, but Jill, I don't know if you want to say anything else. I'm going to loop you back in.
Yeah, no, I mean, you said it so well. Like there is not this unlimited demand where people will eventually pay outrageous prices. Like Hannah said, they will just go to places in the county. And we already have 60,000 in commuters, and that's going to be at peak because businesses will be staffed up. If we add thousands and thousands more cars to that, no one's going to be happy. It's not going to be a good experience for residents in Boulder, for festival goers. It just has to, like you said, be thought of as a collective effort to just make this the best that festival it can be. The more dense and walkable it is, the better it will be for local businesses and for people who live here, for everybody.
One of the things that I've been reminding people is the length of time that you get to benefit if you do this well. Yes, if you're just doing the math for 1 year, you might want to, I want to get as much as I can, but if you look at this as a 10-year plan and really think about it logically, that the investment you do year one to prep the way that we want to see a house prepped to deliver a good guest experience, you get 9 more years of benefit with probably not a ton of extra things besides things break, like hot water heaters. Like you'll probably replace a hot water heater in the next 10 years, regardless if you're renting or not. So it's just stuff like that to keep in mind, that the long-term reality of what this can be is really powerful, not just what can I make this year. And so I think, and there's going to be some outliers, like there is in everything. There's top-of-the-line hotels, lower-line hotels, so that will happen in the short-term rental market. But I think it's taking an honest look of what do I have, and does that make sense at this rate? What would I pay for that? And if you're like, no, that's that's way too much, you got to really kind of think about it differently.
Yeah, and Ross, I've heard you use the word value
Yeah.
and how that comes into play for the guest experience, right?
Yeah.
And what the experience is that they have when they're leaving Boulder. What was the value of the housing that I chose? And that's going to play a big role. So I don't know if Kate, you want to chime in around that, the importance of as people are leaving, how do they leave? What's the experience? What did they feel like when they left Boulder? And housing will be a big part of that. But if you want to chime in.
Yeah, absolutely. And to build on what Ross was saying, it is a value proposition, but also we have to be within market. And so we're identifying what the market rate is at this very moment. We have our properties, our dozens of properties listed. We have some rentals, but it's not a flood of people trying to buy up the inventory at this point. And so we'll see what year one holds. And we know there's, you know, the 72-day window, and there's a rush now, and then maybe a rush in a couple months, and then a couple months before the festival starts. So we are identifying what that looks like, but has to be within market value. And if somebody buys substantially over market, that value equation is off. And so they will never have that positive experience if they spend, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a week. That's just off. That's off the balance. And so one house next to another house has to be somewhat in line. And this first year, we're doing a lot of data analysis and research to make sure that we understand what the market is. We've set the market rates for our current inventory, and as we begin to include more properties into that, we'll see what it holds. But we are absolutely in the data collection stage at this point. But to answer Jen's question, the guest has to leave Boulder with a positive experience, especially year one. We are all collectively, I mean, the city of Boulder, I'm a Boulder native, born and raised here. Boulder is my town, love it more than anything. So we all want this to work, you know, and this is a 10-year contract. But if it's not smooth year one, it's going to be really, really, really rocky year two on. And so all of us professionals in the space want to make sure it is smooth sailing year one, and we'll do whatever we can to help the greater community, not our individual businesses or our individual purposes, but Boulder as a whole, from restaurants, real estate, housing, and where they're going to be hosting the events. We don't even know the exact locations. My number one request that I'm getting from corporate guests right now is walking distance to, we're like, we don't know to where. We don't know. Downtown, the Fox University. Yeah. We don't know, but there's a ton of education at this phase because guests are very, very nervous to be coming into, and we're specifically talking right now with mostly corporations. So the big film people, the agency people that are coming into town. Those are our number one contacts right now, not individual people coming to see films. But they have a lot at stake. And they don't know Boulder. They knew Park City. They knew what they were doing there. They rented the same houses over and over and over again. And they want, you know, an 8-bedroom house that can sleep 16 to 20 people. We don't have that here. Yep. And so, you know, this is a residential community. It's not a ski town. And so it's the inventory has changed substantially, and we're working within budgets of corporations. So it's not like we can just list a number and I hear this from homeowners saying, you know, for X amount of dollars, I'll leave my house and they can sleep in my, you know, beautiful, fabulous place. But it doesn't work like that. There are budgets, and we have to be in line with what's realistic within the community. And we know there's going to be tons of demand. We're so excited to host them, but they will go elsewhere if we don't do it right. I mean, elsewhere meaning other towns. And from a tax dollar perspective, we want to keep Boulder in Boulder. As much as we possibly can. So there's a huge opportunity, and collectively we all want to do it right.
Does anybody else want to chime in around that topic? No, Jill? Okay. I feel like you've got something to say.
I can always say.
Say one final thing then. Let's hear it.
No, I love both of your emphasis on hospitality. And, so I went to Brandy Carlisle's music festival down in Mexico. It's a 4-day music festival, 10,000 people come. And everybody there, it's all around hospitality. People who have come here for your little friendship bracelets that they give out, and charms and stickers, and there's meetup groups. And I was like, man, what if we applied that here to the Sundance Film Festival? A friend was like, I've got a couple parking spaces downtown because of a condo she owns. I was like, yeah. She's like, can I rent out parking? I was like, sure, rent out parking. But when the person parks, leave a little note on their car and a chocolate and say, welcome to Boulder. We're so happy to have you, right? Like those are the opportunities that we have to think about as a city. And I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited that you guys think that way too. And yeah, that's it.
Christy was just saying that they have just added the list of the locations,
Yeah.
and you can find that on the Sundance.org. Okay, yeah. So all this information starting to come out. So keep looking at those resources, and we'll continue to learn more and more. Anything else you want to add on that? No. So this is kind of plays into the same question, but Tanya, I thought maybe you could talk a little bit about how the city's thinking about the neighborhood impact during Sundance Film Festival.
Well, that's, I would say, a little bit out of my work stream, but in general, I do know as the new opportunities that are going before council right now on the lodging ordinances for the festival lodging should open up housing in some of those main corridors, because that's where a lot of our multifamily buildings are. And that is where we've had the restrictions in the past that didn't allow the tenants there. Or if you have a building that maybe, maybe you are fortunate and you own the whole building and you have a model unit that you might be willing to rent. Like, those are some of the opportunities that we see this new ordinance opening up. And that in general should help on that neighborhood side and the congestion and the traffic coming in, because a lot of those properties are already situated around the main transit corridors. And so there will be opportunities to not need your car, to be able to walk and bus and, yeah. And as far as the houses within communities, really a lot of what Jill's referenced, and it's building community. My work is around making it legal to offer your property for rent. But you want to be a good neighbor. That's a piece of all of our rental licensing. We're looking at it from a safety perspective on the city side. But we do have a lot of neighborhood connectors, and the work that we do across all of our divisions are around making this good for the community. So.
Great. Any other panelists want to add to that?
I think that's one of the things that, because I started doing this for myself and I was thinking about my neighbors as well, of like, who am I welcoming into my home and how am I doing this? And do I be secret or do I tell my neighbors? And I think the idea of being a good neighbor, of being truthful in what you're doing, being clear with your neighbors, letting them know, hey, I got the festival license. My hope is to not get 20 people sleeping on mattresses all over the kitchen, but having a house host the right amount of people is a really helpful thing for the neighbors to not feel like, why are there 15 cars parked outside that house? I think those are the impacts that really have have created negative publicity for the idea of short-term rentals over the years that Airbnb and VRBO have become more popular, because you're just shoving as many humans in to make as much money as you can. Now it's weird because you're like, but aren't we trying to make spots for people, Ross? And it's like, yeah, I get that, but I think there's a responsible way to do that and let the other homes come on board to host people and not overdo it. And I also think responsiveness as a host for guests on site, so that they're not going to knock on neighbors' doors because they can't get in, like that level of caring about the experience people are having matters to protecting your neighbors. So.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add to that?
And if you prepare correctly, then you won't be impacting your neighbors negatively. And so there won't be people knocking on their neighbors' doors if they don't have access to a key, because we make sure they have access. Yep. We meaning not a company, but an individual homeowner too. So if you do this yourself, and we recommend exploring all possibilities, think about trash collection, snow removal. You know, there are things that we have thought through because we've done it, you know, thousands and thousands of times, that as a first-time renter might not think that through. And so if you are planning on being off-site or in a different country, expect your phone to ring, and do as much as you possibly can to prepare properly to have the best possible outcome in the entire neighborhood. Yep. So whether it's limiting cars and parking spots or making sure trash collection happens, there's no task too large or too small to do it right.
Yeah.
That's great. We are starting to collect questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand because someone will come around and grab that. But before those questions start, you know, we're talking a lot about, we're in the city of Boulder, we're talking about city of Boulder, we have the city of Boulder here. We also have these outlying communities, and I am wondering if there's anything that you'd like to share, maybe start with you, Jill, that is a little more global around, you know, any licensing or expectations that any of you might want to share or have information on.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So Louisville and Lafayette are looking at a short-term festival license right now. We don't know the specifics of what that will look like, but they, you know, I do expect those two communities to pass something, and then of course, you know, there's obviously a transit plan. And my girlfriend is working on that. She was the City of Boulder's director of transportation and won the RFP. So, combined, we've got it all. But the you know, people staying in outlying areas, transit's obviously the number one. You know, it all depends on transit, and so there will be a really robust transit plan, and we do certainly expect people to be staying, you know, all around, and in Denver too. I mean, you know, Denver's just a fun city, and so, you know, and that HOA bill that I talked about, that's going to apply statewide. So that's going to help unlock HOAs in all of our surrounding communities as well, and in Denver as well. So.
There's a question here, and ties right into that, is Boulder County. Right? I mean, if you live on the east side of Cherryvale, you're in the county.
Yeah.
It's a completely different thing. So can you speak to the county and what the county might have planned besides these other cities?
So you're talking about the unincorporated? Yeah. You know, unless...
I don't know that they have.
I don't, yeah, I'm
specific
pretty,
right
yeah.
now. They have regular short-term
Yeah.
licenses.
Hannah?
Yeah, they indicated that they are not going to do a festival-specific license, so it'll just be whatever regular short-term rental license they have is what
Is there
will
somebody
stick.
we could talk to?
I got the guy. So
Yeah.
I would actually love to have a conversation with them, because it is so different than what everyone else is doing, and neighbors literally, because yes, like you get further east, it is unincorporated, but there's pockets of this town that feel like this town. And so I think in the same sort of thing of like opening up all, I think it's definitely worth them listening to what feedback we're getting, because we're the ones talking to people. And I would say, like, I've had multiple conversations end because they're like, shoot my HOA. Or one gentleman this week was like, don't come, I don't like what the county's asking me to do. And I don't know what that means, but I think he's like, well, the city license is this and the county's this. And so I think as much as we can continue to advocate where we can for those homeowners to feel like this is a equal playing ground that
Yeah.
we're coming to.
The county does have a short-term rental program. They do it by, it's a kind of quantitative. So at a certain number, the licenses are capped out. So if you go on the website, there's kind of different regions. So there's like the mountain community portion of the county. They call it the Bald Mountain region. There's the Eastern Plains portion of the county. And so there's a particular number that each region is kind of capped at. So, but point taken, and
But
we probably
it's
should
more
continue to have
expensive,
those.
less
Yeah.
time, and a lot harder to get. So
Yeah.
that's
If you
just
can
the
get it at
feedback
all.
we're getting because of that, which is like, I think a lot of the things that's true about all of what's happening is these rules were put into place with very thoughtful people thinking about the long-term impact, not thinking about bringing an 80,000 plus festival to our town. And
Yeah.
so like, yeah, we're running up against some walls and some things for people that they're like, oh, that doesn't feel like I want to play anymore. So I think there's a lot of things that over the course of years of what this is, and maybe the next few months, that there are potential new changes that will come. I mean, Jill's brought a lot of new things to my attention last month. So I'm like, we need more Jills.
In the county.
But thank you for that. Well, not the Jill part, the
serious.
county part.
Yeah.
More like, okay, we've added it to our list of homework.
Yeah, that's great. Are there any other thoughts on that before I start reading the questions? I think I'll start with this one. Starts with, so let's get real.
Amazing.
Aren't you? Yeah, and now you wonder, what ranges of rental fee are we really talking about here? So maybe, yeah, Hannah's got something to say.
Well, I don't have the ranges memorized, but I can say that Visit Boulder and Jill have worked together to build like a suggested rental rate sheet, and we've kind of broken it down by how many nights you're staying, how many bedrooms you have in your home, that kind of thing. And then for the really large homes, we recommend just reaching out to one of the experts in that field to help you figure out pricing for that. But we are going to put out, especially those that are going to self-manage and maybe not use a property manager to help them. We are going to publish this suggested rate sheet so that people can kind of look through that, get some ideas of what we're suggesting. And I mean, Jill can speak more to how some of those numbers are how we've come up with those numbers, but just doing some comparisons to, January in Boulder, and then looking at what have some of the rates been in Park City. We know that they've been really high in Park City, so we're trying to be more considerate and thoughtful about this rate sheet and making it realistic for Boulder. But feel free to speak more to that sheet.
Well, so for condos and condos and rentals, multifamily housing, essentially, we're looking at pricing similar to a hotel, right? For single family homes, just like Hannah said, don't expect it to be a lot more than what a normal busy weekend is in Boulder. There are going to be some of those ultra luxury homes that are rented by Meryl Streep or Snoop Dogg or Harry and Meghan. But that's, unfortunately, the idea that that's everyone who comes to Sundance is just not true. There's a handful of, really ultra wealthy A-listers, and the rest are just, normal people, right? And so I would expect it to just be a normal busy weekend. And if you can go online right now and find, homes on Airbnb or other sites and kind of see what they're listing for, in May or whatever, and copy that.
So Ross,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us in the business use these dynamic pricing tools so that we don't have to sit there and change numbers based on what we're feeling, but what data is being pulled and delivered to calendars in real time. And so what's really difficult about that, let's be real, is it's never happened. There's no data to create a thing that's like, guys, this is exactly what you should expect. But I would say for single family homes, you're gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 1,500 for most homes per night, depending on how many humans can be there. Now, are there outliers on both ends of that? Absolutely. But that's why every home, like I've been in a lot of homes the last month. Not all 3 bedrooms are created equally. And so it's like, I went into one where I was like, oh, you guys are so thoughtful in everything you have in here. So as I'm looking at the data and then thinking about what I think they could get, they're going to be a little bit higher because of the care that they've put into it. But then it's like, can you change that teenager's room into something that somebody coming to Sundance wants to live in? I don't know where we're going to get you. And so it's such a broad reason why pricing goes. But I do want to say the majority are not going to be like, I'm going to get 5,000 a night and I'm not even going to change the sheets. You know, like you have to be reasonable about what is real out there. And so, you know, those of us that get the Megan and the Harrys and the Snoop Dogs, I'm hoping for Snoop Dogg all of a sudden. That's really fun, and those will be cool one-offs. But I think for the most part, that's the thing that data's telling me for something that's never happened. So it's like,
Yeah, someone just asked, and maybe one of you can chime in, is can you recommend a per bedroom rate per night? That's kind of hard to do, right? Or Jill, is that what, and Hannah, is that what you guys are trying to
That's
do?
what we're putting out. Yeah. And we'll have it live on our Visit Boulder website within the next week. So you can go to our website to look at that. And it'll just be published for the public to use just as a guide as you try to consider what you think you should choose for your property.
Yeah.
for you, Jake.
So, and this is where, you know, just to give a pitch for Fox Property Management, I mean, this is where you guys really do come in, because we're going to put out this guide, but there is a big difference between a not updated 1950 ranch home in Martin Acres and you know, a home in you know, a brand new build in Newlands, even though both might have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, right? Like there's just a big pricing difference. So our guide isn't gonna take in those nuances the way that, you know, a property manager might help you kind of navigate. And then I'm gonna say something that you told me, which is that, you know, one bad review ruins your chances to rent for any kind of price in year 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So, you know, really doing it right out of the gate is important to keeping those prices, you know, for you in the future.
Yeah. Specifically, one of the things you get reviewed on is value. You get cleanliness, communication, like some other things. But so if everything else is 5 stars, but value felt 1 star, your overall rating could be higher. And if you're doing just a festival license, you don't have other stays to change your reality. And so we're thinking about that really, really critically as we're pitching this long-term vision of maybe year 1 isn't the year to shoot for the highest potential ever. It's the time to understand this is a new market and how can I make this work for me? Because we also understand there's costs to get it ready and to leave. You know, it's not free to leave unless you have 4 other houses. And all of these other people want to come to those houses with you. No, but I think that's something to kind of really keep in mind as you're looking at what it is you want to build.
With all of that said, and I completely support everything that everybody has discussed, we have successfully at Home Host Concierge rented our properties for many, many tens of thousands of dollars during Sundance. Granted, we're in the high-end luxury space. I mean, it's astronomical numbers that we're really proud of, and it's been an ongoing communication process with corporations for many, many, many months. So as soon as the dates were announced, they jumped on them. So it's all over the board, but there is a big opportunity if you do it right.
Yeah.
You know, Kate, someone asked, can you rent your home for just one of the weeks? Like, can you know, what are your thoughts on the timing of this actual event?
Yeah, so historically the festival has been 11 nights, and this in 2027 it's 10, so it's less than it has been. And we're doing a minimum night stay at our properties. So for a week, we have had 0 inquiries for more than a week. And the front part of the festival is a lot more popular that we've understood than the latter half. And so the pricing might need to adjust if you have 3-night rental on the front half or a 5-night or a 7-night, then the second half might need to be less. And so we don't use any, in my business, we don't use any software to adjust our pricing. We do everything manually based on what we're seeing in our properties in the market. But it's really important to understand the market in order to be able to capitalize the most possible and still, again, be within market. Like we've said that time and time again. It can't be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but there is an opportunity there. So yeah, definitely splitting the guests. So potentially a 5-night stay and a 5-night stay. That would be a recommendation that we would make.
So I'm not exactly sure, maybe Hannah or Jill on this. How many guests per home are the corporate, any of you guys could probably answer this, how many guests per home per bedroom? So are we like, if I'm a 4-bedroom house, am I supposed to have a king size bed in each, there's gonna be 2 people in each room? Is there some sort of expectation? Who would like to take that?
We haven't heard any specifics around that. I think there could be some assumptions made, but I don't personally know exact numbers around like how many from one company stay in one house. I think obviously it's going to depend on the home and the rooms available. I think when it's just something to consider when it's a company and their coworkers staying with each other, they may not all be sharing a bed or that kind of thing, but I think it just varies depending on who it is that's staying there. So I don't know if you have any more of an
Anybody?
answer on that for you guys.
I mean, I think the assumption for a lot of how the short-term rental laws are is like 2 people a room is sort of the expectation. And so if you only have a twin in every room, that's going to be a tight squeeze. But I mean, look, everyone can have a different desire for how they want to step into this. If you want to make your house really excellent for this and you can fit a king in every room, that will benefit you. That will make people feel excited about that. If you're like, I want to use it as I have it for me and make nice things around that, then, you got to adjust accordingly for what's comfortable. And so I think it's case by case. I know that's the lamest answer, but it's just the truth.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I want to say it is 5:25. We're going to do 5 more minutes. And there's still a lot more questions. And so the plan here is to do an FAQ. We'll get these questions answered. They'll get sent out to you an email when we send. I don't know if you've noticed, but this has all been filmed. We'll be sending this out to you. We'll answer more of these questions. But I want to jump to a different topic. A few cards came in for Tanya. And this is around busing and transportation. So there's 2 of them. We'll see if you can, how many buses will be brought in? Do you know?
Yeah, I do not know the number. I know it's being worked on, but I do not know the number.
And then the second question is, has there been any discussion around changing the schedules of the buses, increasing not just the number, but also the time and the...
And again, I would say yes, all of that is in discussion. I'm not in those conversations. My work isn't focused on the transit, but I do know it's being very thoughtfully approached and comprehensively. Jill might even know a little bit more coming out of the governor's office, but I know the conversations are not just transportation in the city, but with RTD and what do we need to do to make this work.
Yeah, and RTD is doing a good job. They're, really looking at this as an opportunity and, crafting a plan for the festival.
Okay, so there's one specifically for you, Kate, which is, what if we have an older home? Should we even bother?
Yes, please, 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 please. We're going to need housing. And some of our most successful properties that we've had in our portfolio for years are historic homes. And so it doesn't matter if you're new and modern or historic home or anywhere in between. Yes, 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 please.
Great. And Ross, what are some things we should be thinking about to elevate the guest experience and increase my home's value without price gouging?
That's a really good question, but the price gouging confused me at the end. So the creating a guest experience, I think for me, it starts from communicating clearly, communicating quickly when people are interested. And then upon arrival, actually showing them that you were expecting them and cared about them, you know, from welcome baskets to intentionality with how rooms are set up, things that you might be providing in the fridge to help their stay, you know, full spices, stuff like that. So there's lots of things that don't break the bank that mean a lot as you live in that space that feels comfortable and good. You know, a deep clean is really, really important on your way out of town. You know, you open a drawer in the kitchen and there's crumbs all around the cutlery. That's not a great feeling when you've paid a good amount to be places. So I think it's the little details that actually end up making the biggest difference for the time that you're staying there. But yeah, I think delivering that level of surprise, you know, read the book Unreasonable Hospitality if you want to figure out how to surprise people with hospitality.
Good recommendation.
Yeah.
We'll send a link to that.
I tried to get him here tonight and he didn't come.
And he wouldn't
Yeah.
come. Next panel, next
Yeah.
panel. Jill, this is specifically for you. If no money is exchanged for the home hosting, are there still special license required?
No license required, no HOA rules to get in the way. So, yeah, opens up a lot of opportunity. And I'm just going to add on to what Ross said and also leave a list of your favorite businesses and restaurants so that we support our local community as well.
Yeah, make sure you have a scout guide in
Leave
every
a
single
scout guide.
property.
That's right.
Right, so we
Amazing.
have the scout guide and the next one will come out in November. Is it November? Is that your release date? Okay, so it's a great time to get involved with the scout guide, so you're in it. All right. And then Jill, there's another question for you, and you may be the one to answer someone else, but will people come besides the 10, 11 days? Like, should we be thinking about people who are like the advanced team coming in, wanting to rent before or want to stay after?
And you actually probably know this better than I do.
I know that you know, obviously the Sundance Film Festival has a whole staff of people and they have a team that is dedicated to housing those staff members. So that side of it is all already taken care of. And they're working on contracts with hotels and things like that. You know, and I'll mention that our team and many others work together to ensure that all of the hotels in Boulder we're part of a contract where 70% of the inventory in each hotel was dedicated to, you know, Sundance staff and other volunteers and that kind of thing at a specific lower rate. So that's something that was also intentional to make sure that we keep this pricing reasonable. And then 30% obviously is going to get opened up to everyone else. However, if you've gone on to try to find a hotel room during this time frame for next year, you might have seen that none of them really have anything available at this point. It doesn't mean that it's sold out. It just means that they're working on, you know, are there corporate sponsors that are going to have people staying at their hotel, those kind of things. So they're still working out those details, but they are still going to be releasing that other 30% of their inventory for anyone to book here soon. We don't know exactly when, but they'll all be releasing that whenever it makes sense for them. But I got kind of lost there, but I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah.
So I'm just going to give this I'm going to ask a few more questions. So I think this is a great question. How will the message of offering reasonable pricing be shared beyond this room? Like, how are we going to, out in the community, share the message here about who we want to be as a city around the housing side? How will everyone get the memo is the question.
That's a great question. And Charlene and Hannah and I are Boulder's hottest girl band, and we're on tour right now. You can book us at your place of business if you would like. We are, I'm not even kidding, we're going around. I mean, we've got every real estate company in Boulder booked to speak to because they have office meetings. And, you know, I spoke at Highland City Club. Some people were there today. And, you know, I think 8Z might put another one of these on at some point, you know, and invite us in. You know, if you're a Rotary member or, you know, have a bridge club that you want us to talk to, we are hitting the road. And then there will be, you know, print marketing and materials and things like that as well. Boulder, yeah.
And then we also get to be the messengers, right?
Yeah, that's
You
right.
guys came here. It's part of it is just being out in the world, talking about it and talking about who we want to be as a city and creating an environment that wants people want to come back, right? They want to invest in real estate here and they want to come back for the event and they want to be part of this. And they want to shop in our shops and eat in our restaurants and have a great experience. So another great question, I think, for Kate, I think maybe Kate, Ross, Hannah, is what, if you are going to do this on your own, what's the best platform to advertise your property? Is it VRBO? Is it Airbnb? Otherwise, where should we be?
Both and. VRBO and Airbnb, you have to be on both places. That's our recommendation. That's where we list all of our properties. And that will do about 99% of the work for you if you're in front of them. They're multi-billion-dollar platforms and they're great platforms. They offer insurance and assurance for a reason. So we highly recommend, if you do it yourself, list on both platforms.
I'm stealing that insurance and assurance. I like that. Craigslist, that's it. No, do not do that. Do not do that. I echo that exactly. I actually was in a conversation with somebody who's not looking specifically Sundance, and I have not branched outside of VRBO and Airbnb in my business for a lot of those reasons. And he was telling me I wasn't very smart for doing that. And I was like, this is what I do every day. And I really believe there's a lot of reasons why I'm there. And I appreciate that there are some other little trails you can go down that have some potential. I'm not going to say that there's nothing else, but that's really where the bulk of our business is brought from. And I think there's a lot of comfort of being able to see what those people have done in those places as we are trying to be a good neighbor and we're trying to be bringing good people into homes.
Yep, and a quick note on that, the Airbnb and VRBO will link to both Visit Boulder and Sundance's lodging website. So, people going, those are going to be really the two one-stop shop sites to book all kinds of lodging, hotel, or housing, and so it'll link over to those. The multifamily housing will be primarily Airbnb.
Okay, great. So as we wrap up here, someone was asking, I've never done this before. Like what sort of support do I actually need, And I think that as we send out follow-ups, we will send out information about Kate and Ross and the girl band and all the different opportunities to continue to connect. And then there's also, designers in the room. And there's contractors and there's builders and there's so many people in our community that can be part of your solution. And so some of them are here, some of them are people that some people will be showing up at other events that you go to, but this is a collaborative effort to get us there. So we will definitely add, instead, we don't really have time to go into what would property management do for you, but we are going to add links where you can reach out to people. And there are property managers on the Visit Boulder link, and then you've got Ross, you've got Kate, you have all these different resources. See, is that a fit I need? Or do I need someone to come and help me stage my house? Because I just don't feel comfortable with what I'm doing. There are people in Boulder all over there willing and wanting to help you. So you'll see some of them in the Scout Guide. You'll see some of them, some of them are your neighbors. So just wanting to say that we'll follow up in our communication and make sure that we're giving you that opportunity. So how about you each take 30 seconds to close us out?
Okay. Well, to that point, we are collecting resources as well. So if you need a great photographer for your home, we've got a list of photographers. If you have a vacant space, like an ADU or something like that, we have a list of people that will come in just for a couple weeks and stage that space, rent you furniture, right down to a TV and Wi-Fi. So, reach out. We're here to be a resource for anything that you need. And yeah, I'm just going to close out saying thank you to Fox and to 8Z and to Scout Guide. This has been wonderful, and to all of you. I mean, we're all on a team together to make this really special, not just this year, but into the future, and really appreciate all of you coming out and your participation.
Yeah, I second that. Thank you for having me as well. I think it's a great conversation to start and continue throughout the year. And I'll just say that, as you start thinking through all of this information, I can be a resource from the Visit Boulder perspective on how to connect you, any questions you have. I will say that we went through kind of a vetting process for the property managers like Ross and Kate that we've listed on our Visit Boulder page about renting your home for this festival. And so they've been vetted from our end just because we wanted to make that step, one less thing that you as the homeowners maybe need to do, because that's obviously a key piece in like, oh, who do I work with that I can trust, and especially with my home, which is precious to me. So we knew that'd be a step that we could kind of maybe remove for all of you. So if you see those companies listed on our website, we have vetted them. We've thought through that process, and they are trusted. So I'll just add that, But yeah, feel free to reach out to me anytime if you have questions as you work through this process. Even if it's just something super simple, you can email me. That's also on our Rent Your Home page on our Visit Boulder website as well. So.
Yeah, well, thank you for letting me be here. I feel like the questions you'll have for me will probably come after you decide if you want to do it. But if you do have questions about how to get licensed, what does the license entail, it's a pretty straightforward. We tried to remove as much of the red tape as we can to open this up. But remember, from the city side, we're focused a lot on the safety. So what you're doing with us with the licensing is focused on keeping our properties safe, because that's really what we're watching out for. And then we're referring you out to everybody else for the other resources. So we're not helping you market the place. We're just trying to make sure that we're keeping everything in good condition.
Awesome.
But you will check on compliance.
Yes. So there's a good chance if you have questions or you just want to know how something's handled on the licensing, you'll be connected with me. I'm fielding a lot of those questions for the team right now, but we do have a licensing team that has been doing this for all of our city properties for years. So it's a great team.
Awesome. I think the thing I want to leave with today is I am a Boulder native, and when I heard this was coming to town, I was like, that's amazing. And I think for me, the people I've met through the process, I mean, Kate and I have known each other for years, and we're like, oh, we're both Boulder kids doing this. It's interesting having people pay attention to what no one cared about what we did 6 months ago. But it's actually been a very fun experience to bring kind of what I've learned over the last 15 years of hosting people in homes to the masses a little bit more, and also working alongside some of the obstacles. And so it makes me really proud to be from this area, and that we get to have something this unique and special come in the dead of winter when things were kind of sleepy, and what that means for all of my friends who own businesses in this area, and how excited they are to be like, oh, I started a restaurant knowing January would stink forever. Maybe it's not going to be that way anymore. And I think that's a really cool piece of what this story is. And housing is just one of those pieces. And so I'm just thankful that this many people care. And so thanks for coming out tonight.
Yay. Do it.
Do it. I love that.
Mic drop.
Open your home. We have tons of wonderful people coming into town, coming into Boulder. It's our obligation as residents to make their experience fabulous. Do it yourself, do it with our support, whatever works for you. But they need it. And they don't know, our guest Sundance Film Festival 2027 doesn't know what they're getting into. We know Boulder like the back of our hand, and they don't. So let's provide them the opportunity to have a phenomenal year one and 10 more or so years to come.
Let's give a hand to our panel. You guys are great. Yeah, we appreciate you so much. And I want to thank again 8Z for opening this space to us, and for Scout Guide for being such a great partner and collaborator.